when you look at supply chain suites, they are going to have very specific solutions that are going to be bundled as part of them, and they are going to be applicable only in certain industries. So, which are the top 10 supply chain suites in 2023? That's what we are going to discuss in this video. Hello everyone, my name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, enterprise software selection, as well as implementation. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be top 10 supply chain suites in 2023. And there's a very big reason why the term suites is used in this particular list. The reason for that is because the way suites work is they are going to be pre-integrated. They are going to be provided as part of one package. For the most part, when you look at any of the ERP is supposed to be a suite because that is already pre-packaged, pre-built. You get as part of one package. Most people don't really understand the difference between a suite and the best of breed. So here we are looking at suite from the supply chain perspective. The ERP suites are going to be very different from supply chain suites, and most of the time there is going to be substantial overlap. Sometimes the supply chain suites make sense for certain industries just because the way their supply chain planning is going to be, that ERP, the scope of ERP or ERP suite is going to be limited in those industries. So let's dive in. Number 10 on our list is the Dassault Systems SCM. And this is the system that was primarily an ERP vendor. And some of the ERP vendor, especially if you talk about systems such as your IQMS and QAD, traditionally they were very supply chain focused. So the industries that they targeted, they had to take middle of the road approach for them. And even Plex is probably going to be aligned with this strategy as well. So when you look at QAD, IQMS, as well as your Plex, they were serving automotive, they were serving food and beverage. So any of the industries that were slightly more supply chain focused. So they sat somewhere in between of your supply chain suite and ERP suite. And that's why they have all of those capabilities that you are generally going to find in your supply chain suite. So here with this particular system, this was best fit for upper mid automotive plastic manufacturers. And the reason why they needed to structure or architecture their suite in this way is because in the automotive space, you always had to forecast your capacity. You always had to forecast inventory, and your forecast were dependent upon your global supply chain. So it was always very difficult to be part of that automotive supply chain. And that's why these systems traditionally incorporated a lot of the components that were part of the supply chain suite. Now the other industry that are going to have very similar characteristic is going to be your retail. The way retail works, the way their transactions are, is very different. So here for this particular system, this is really for the automotive and the plastic manufacturers. That's where they really shine. So now pros for this is going to be that it is integrated with the ERP solution. Now that could be a pro, that could be a con. For manufacturer, it might be okay because your transaction volume is not going to be as high. So you don't have to really decouple those retail transactions. And that's why ERP integration is okay in this particular case. But if you are going to go to retail, you cannot afford to have those costing layers, the MRP layers, as part of your retail transaction, but because the volume is very high, the transaction is very short lived as well. So that's why the supply chain suite designed for retail are going to be very different. So here the pros are going to be the comprehensive suite. You are going to get the PLM, PDM, SCM, ERP as part of one suite, and the interaction and the collaboration is going to happen from all perspectives. When you look at the collaboration during your R&D phase with your vendor, you need to exchange documents, you need to do the collaboration there. So it's just a different process for this industry, And that's why this particular system shines for these industries. Now, the cons for this platform or suite is going to be technology, not modern. So back in the days, they were one of the best just because they were the only options available. But now you have options in the market that are going to be slightly more cloud native. They have limited ecosystem and network not as part of the suite. The network drives your planning component, that drives the strength of your forecasting accuracy. So they don't really have the network as part of their suite. So they are going to be relying on your data to be able to forecast. So their planning component is not going to be as strong as some of the other suites that we have on this list. So that's number 10. Now, number 9 on our list is Trimble. They have very specific industries. Their approach is very similar as well. They have acquired a new company called Transporian. So now they have far richer real-time transportation visibility. So they are trying to take a very similar suite-centric approach where they have driver-side workflows. They always had very strong TMS component for the 3PL freight forwarders. So their solution is really designed from the transportation company perspective. So they are a complete suite probably for transportation companies because they are not going to need WMS, because for those companies WMS might not be as meaningful, especially if you're looking at the pure play transportation companies, or they might require light WMS and they might be able to support that. But for the most part, their solution is designed from more of the transportation company perspective. Now, pros for Trimble is most comprehensive suite containing telematics and fleet management, strong in transportation visibility, and 3PL specific planning and data. That's where they're really strong at. The cons for Trimble is not ideal for manufacturing and retail centric industries. They don't target that. It's not really designed for that. And so if you're a manufacturer, retailer, Trimble is not the right solution for you. Then they have network which is going to be very limited, which is really limited from the transportation perspective. So the supplier network is probably missing from their insights, from their AI, and it is going to be primarily focused on transportation execution in compliance workflow. So their suite is limited, but the suite could be very relevant for certain industries, and that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is QAD. And QAD is the best fit for automotive, life sciences centric companies, very similar offering as your Dassault or IQMS perspective. Their pros for QAD is going to be integrated with the ERP solution. So again, they are targeting slightly more manufacturing centric verticals or industrial supplier centric verticals. So their workflows are very different from your retailers, and that's why they are successful there. Comprehensive suite with SCM and ERP. And one of the things that you are going to notice when you talk to QAD is that they target very, very, very specific micro verticals. And the reason for that is because their supply chain solution is not going to work for the other industries. So even though their ERP might be okay, but their the way they target the industries is going to be based on their supply chain capabilities. And each of the micro verticals are probably going to have very specific supply chain planning needs. So make sure you pay attention to that. And then compliance and pre-baked for automotive and F&B industries that you are going to find with QAD. Now, the cons for QAD is that the backend technology, not modern, it's really clunky, limited ecosystem, as well as they don't really have network. So they are really relying on your data for their planning module and the AI to work. So that's number 8. Now, number 7 on our list is Manhattan Associates. Now, Manhattan is really targeted for retail. So their suite is going to be very execution focused. They have planning component, but that planning is going to be more from the merchandiser planners, not necessarily from the supply chain perspective. And they definitely don't have the network. They are going to rely on other folks for the network. So their suite is very retail for the retail centric industries. They are going to have very different needs overall. The pros for Manhattan is going to be tailored flow for retail merchandisers and planners, warehouse and store visualization, which is very retail specific capabilities that might not be very meaningful for the other industries. And then the integrated suite, including POS and distributed order management. Distributed order management, for the most part, is really meaningful for retail centric industries. just because of the transaction volume, the way your orders are structured, the way your channels are structured, the way your warehouses are structured. So that's a very retail centric. So the cons for Manhattan is external supply chain planning limited, network not included, and not SMB friendly is going to be some of the cons for Manhattan associates. So that's number 7. Now, number 6 is Kerber or High Jump. Even Kerber or High Jump, they were slightly more WMS centric solution, but now with that acquisition, they have far more capabilities and they are looking like a suite now. So some of the components that they have is they were always very strong in your WMS. They have very strong DSD capabilities. They have strong TMS capabilities now, right now. That is going to be integrated. They have fleet management capabilities. So a lot of things that you are going to find in solutions such as Blue Yonder, you might be able to find in Kerber as well. So now the pros for Kerber is going to be the strong warehouse management capabilities, the TMS capabilities integrated, and strong last mile and DSD as well as parcel capabilities are going to be there. The cons for Kerber or High Jump is that the external supply chain is going to be limited. It's not really designed for that. Network not included, so they are probably going to be relying on other add-ons if they don't have supply chain control tower capabilities as of today. Even if they got that, they are probably going to be relying on other partners for the network. And no supply chain planning or collaboration component. They are really slightly more WMS vendor, but then they are trying to become like a suite with different acquisitions. So that's number 6. Now, number 5 on our list is Infor Cloud Suite SCM. And this is really for the upper mid-market manufacturers, very similar target market as your QAD or IQMS. Automotive, that's where collaboration was really needed. The advantage with Infor Cloud Suite SCM is that they have the comprehensive suite for supply chain, especially for the automotive aerospace manufacturers. It's going to be in the form of WMS. They don't have TMS execution component, but when you look at from the shipper workflow perspective, you don't require as a strong TMS as it is going to be required for the other companies. Their visibility platform is going to be very focused on the supplier collaboration as well, but they are trying to partner with other vendors for the transportation visibility to be able to get the reliable AI and the control tower capability as well as the visibility capability. So the other advantage with Infor Cloud Suite SCM is that great visibility platform overall, with planning, and then global trade workflows and the compliance capabilities are going to be part of the solution just because they have very strong execution component as part of their suite. The cons is going to be weak transportation execution component, not proven with enterprise workloads, not fit for smaller businesses, and that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is Oracle, and Oracle targets enterprise companies already on Oracle ERP. That's where their suite is gonna make sense just because it is going to be integrated with the other workflows. But it's fairly comprehensive suite overall from the execution perspective. They have WMS, they have TMS, they will be able to do scenarios such as your OMS, RMS, but they are not going to have network. They are going to rely on other companies for the network insights, AI capabilities. They have the planning component, but the planning component is relying on your data. They are not going to have their own data as well as network that can power data. So pros for Oracle is the comprehensive supply chain management suite, including global trade management capabilities. So the execution component, when you look at the global compliance centric execution, that's where they're really strong. But they rely on the other add-ons for the other things that are not going to be as critical overall, from the execution mindset. The strong planning platform integrated with the execution suite, but the planning platform is not going to be as strong just because the network is missing. But then you are utilizing your partners and add-ons for that data, for that suite. So pre-integrated with ERP is going to be other pro that you're going to get. The cons with Oracle is network not part of the suite, not SMB friendly, and it's going to be expensive. So that's number 4. Number 3 is SAP, and SAP is going to have very similar positioning overall from the supply chain suite perspective, but SAP targets slightly more distribution centric verticals, not necessarily retail, distribution centric verticals as well as manufacturers, just because the way their MRP engine is designed, the way the ERP is designed, were always strong in those verticals. So here for SAP, best for enterprise companies already on SAP ERP, when you have that kind of transaction volume, then you are probably going to be utilizing SAP or Oracle, but then you are going to be relying on other capabilities from the other platforms. So the pros for SAP is going to be comprehensive supply chain management suite, including global trade management capabilities, at least from that tightness of the execution perspective that you are going to be utilizing from SAP, even though other supply chain suite might claim that they have global trade management capabilities as well, but they have those capabilities more from planning data AI perspective. This is the real execution capability that enterprises are probably going to use. Then they also have the strong planning platform integrated, just like Oracle, and pre-integrated with ERP. The cons for SAP is going to be network not as part of the suite, not SMB friendly, expensive. So the only network that you have with SAP is your procurement network, which is a very different network than your the newer network that we have in the market from the supplier perspective as well as from the transportation perspective. For that, yeah, SAP is going to be relying on newer platforms such as either E2 Open or it's going to be the Project 44 4 kites. Those are the platforms that have the real-time visibility data. So that's number 3. Now, number 2 on our list is Blue Yonder. And Blue Yonder is really strong from the retail supply chain management suite in the industries that are going to be really strong in supply chain, where they require decoupling of your transaction, where those MRP centric processes might not make as much of a sense. Overall, these industries are going to be slightly more B2C centric in general. So, the pros for Blue Yonder is that strongest supply chain suite with planning and execution component, and they have planning and execution component. Execution is going to be WMS TMS, and they are going to treat ERP as more of the financial reporting. They might not be even keeping the allocation inside ERP. The costing is going to be completely disconnected as well. So that's how the industry operates in general. So for them, the supply chain suite is going to be slightly more relevant. Now, the other pros for Blue Yonder is that ability to handle a large number of SKUs for enterprise retailers. And when you are going to have those large number of SKUs, when you are going to get into planning scenarios, you have to decouple your transactions. Otherwise, your planning is not going to work. And that's where Blue Yonder really shines with that kind of planning when you are going to get into that merchandising planning scenarios. So the scope of ERP is in general going to be very limited. And that's why Blue Yonder suite, supply chain suite, makes sense for those industries. Now, the other strength for Blue Yonder is the external supply chain capabilities. The cons is that ERP is not going to be included, but ERP is not as meaningful for those verticals anyways. So ERP is going to be very back-end function in general. So now the network is not part of the suite. They rely on other partners for the transport visibility data for the supplier collaboration and not SMB friendly. So that's number 2. Now, number 1 on our list is E2 Open. And E2 Open targets enterprises with very collaborative supply chains, such as your automotive, aerospace. That's where, if you look at traditionally QAD, tax, as well as IQMS, these were their verticals. So now E2 Open is really taking over those verticals because of their cloud native platforms, as well as because of the collaborative supply chain, as well as the network that they have that nobody else has in the market. Very few vendors have that network. So the pros for E2 Open is that most comprehensive supply chain suite with planning and the planning network and execution. The network is super critical for your planning to be reliable, for your AI to work. So that's where E2 Open is really strong. The channel marketing planning and collaboration, and now they are getting into that whole channel marketing planning and collaboration as well, which has been in general a missing piece. So now they are trying to do a lot more overall in terms of when you talk about planning for your MDF funds. So that gets into a little bit of finance planning as well. But for the most part, this has always been a missing piece overall in the planning engine. So E2 Open is doing a really good job there. And then they have the global compliance as well as the e-invoicing ESG support. That is also a very new architecture that we have in the market at this point of time. The cons for E2 Open is that ERP not included as part of the suite, but the industries that they are targeting, they don't necessarily require ERP as part of the suite. ERP is probably going to be a backend function, or they are going to be working hand in with other ERP execution centric platforms. It is not SMB friendly, and they have limited ecosystem from the partner perspective. They don't really have as many consulting companies in their network at this point of time, just because it's a fairly newer platform. On that note, if you enjoyed this video, we are going to include the link of a detailed article, so check that out. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we publish these videos on a weekly basis, and subscribe there. This podcast is also available in the audio form on Apple, Google, and Spotify, so make sure you check that and subscribe there. And if you have not checked our digital transformation report, we are going to include the link of that too. On that note, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.